So the developers expand the capabilities of IntentKit and of the agent framework, whereas the creators are the ones that are building user-facing agents that use this underlying skills and abilities.
Correct. There is a why behind it, right? Why do we think this could be interesting? The why is that we are betting that the freelancer gig economy will transition from people doing it to agentic gig economy. Today, if you want a small video created for your product, you're probably going to go hit Fiverr or Upwork and look for a freelancer, pay them 1K, 5K, and they create a video for you after a couple of days. These tasks, to be honest, now they can be done by AI. If you look at our Twitter, just yesterday, I did actually kind of a post and I was like, let me figure this Google VO thing and create like an AI video. I was blown away. It takes me like 5 iterations, 10 minutes. And I had a result that I'm comfortable enough to put it on my public channel. Okay. And I wouldn't need to pay a freelancer on Fiverr. I paid an agent to do it. So that's really the idea. And these users and creators, for me, are two types of people in the real world. First one is actually users who already use Fiverr and Upwork, and they can find the same tasks cheaper than by an AI. They will go and find those AIs on platforms like Nation. The other ones are the entrepreneurs, the Fiverr people, the service providers on Fiverr. They're like, how do I scale myself? I know how to create that video on AI anyway. I'm creating it on AI anyway. Now I can create an agent that doesn't sleep and can produce 10 videos instead of one, instead of me doing it. So that's really where the entrepreneurial gig economy, we believe that it will transition from manual labor to AI-powered labor. And then you don't need to pretend you're a human with an AI behind this. Here is my AI. Just talk to it to do the job, pay me a fee, and we're good to go.
That is really interesting. So then a question that I would have is, I think that this is very much probably where everything is heading, because even now, maybe the Fiverr people are just an interface on top of the AI or some agent. So it's just the interconnect, or maybe
we use that. I think we use that in our blurb somehow, which is Fiverr is a $500 billion industry. 90%, 80% or whatever of Fiverr service providers use AI. We're cutting the middleman, right? Just straight up AI.
So then I have a question, and this goes back maybe to the open source question, which is, what is the incentive for the creators to build an agent that is open sourced? Would they be competing with all the other service providers, like a trader in some sense? They want to have the best user interface or the best model. Yeah. So why would they open source this?
All right. To be very clear, the bottom layers of this diagram you're looking at are the open source. How the creator assembles them together to serve you that final agent result, that is not open source. That is only owned by the creator. So today, if you go to nation.fund and click new agent, whatever you write, whatever you program, quote unquote, and then click deploy, that's deployed on chain tied to your wallet. Nobody else can see. You don't know how Wolfpack BT works. That is only known by the creator of that. And that's where actually you can see a few things. If you can scroll down a little bit on the agent config, it uses GPT 4.1 mini, fine. It has some skills like Alpha, Allura, Portfolio, fine. These are the building blocks. But how does it use these skills to do what it needs to do? You don't know. That is the prompt engineering part. That's the LLM part where me as a creator, I've spent a lot of time to refine my prompts that I can ensure this agent predictably delivers the results that I wanted to deliver by combining these skills. And that is not open source. That is owned fully by the creator of this agent.
So the app or the logic for how these data sources or how these skills are interacting with you, that's completely owned and managed by the creators.
Absolutely.
And going back a little bit, so one of the ideas that this app will be, you will provide a service for them to host this app and service as well.
That's what happens here. It's happening already.
Okay.
So this agent here, when it's running, it has two components. It has an on-chain component. So it has a wallet that you can see there on the top right. It has assets. That wallet is fully controlled by the agent. It does that. Indirectly controlled by the creator, of course, because the creator can tell the agent every day, rebalance your portfolio, and the agent will do that. And there is an off-chain part, which is the intent kit hosted on our servers right now, securely and so on, that runs these operations. So for example, if you click analyze BTC and tweet, maybe that's a good example. There you go. So this is a job that happens on a daily. It says, find out if BTC is a buy or sell. Summarize it in a tweet, keep it short. Don't use hashtag, don't use emojis.
Right.
So when this triggers, it starts by, if you can start from the top, like the 3 skills that it's called. It's called alpha to get some social sentiment. If you scroll down a little bit, it's called the crypto compare, which is another data source. And then it should have called also, I don't know where it's getting this from. I think it's some other service. Also crypto mirrors, crypto media, something like that. So 3 sources. It got some sentiment for 3 sources. After it has done this, if you close it, it goes and calls Allora, which is an agentic framework to get price predictions of BTC and ETH. They have a full network of agents that talk to each other and decide what could be the price of BTC in 8 hours. And then it calls a final skill, I believe, which is the Twitter skill, which is the posting.
Okay.
Yeah. So it got the social sentiment. That's step number 1.
Yeah.
It got the price prediction. Then the LLM itself starts thinking, okay, what do I do with this information? Of course, it follows the prompts that we tell it and then produces a result. And so now on this agent account, which is on the right, X, the posts are happening on a regular basis. It's sharing a little bit what it's doing. So these are like the hosted part, like this, me as a creator of this agent, I didn't need to do anything. I just came to nation.fun, clicked a few buttons, deployed. If I don't like how it's behaving, I can come back and update again, adjust, etc., and keep going.
This is very interesting. If you use a framework like Eliza or something, this is what's happening underneath the hood, but you're also making it public and transparent. It's not running in the terminal somewhere. So you can actually see this. And
this is a terminal. So you see what's happening visibly. We can control this. So if somebody, somehow like the user say, you know what, these are things that are private and have an option to not show it publicly. Sure. But then now your agent does not have verifiability. Like people are trading in it.
You don't know what's the process that it went through.
Correct. And just actually to give you the full picture on this one, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen. I just want to show you the insides of this agent, right? It's my agent, so I'm happy to share what's inside. Open sourced anyway. Okay, so let me kick this off. Nation share. All right. So this is the agent here. And you see actually something that you don't see on your site. It has public skills and it has private skills. Okay. So this is the access control as well. Eliza, I'd love to give you this one. So if you chat to my agent, which you could, if you log in, it can interact with you, but only using whatever is in the public section. But for example, in the private section, it does a trading. It can trade from the wallet. I don't want this function open to anybody. Right. This is only available to me. Maybe some of the APIs, sorry, I lost my mouse. Here's my mouse. Some of the APIs are paid. I don't want people to tell my agent to post a tweet. Right? Only I can tell it to post a tweet. So that's like the access control. And all of that is done on the inside without coding. So this is like the description of your agent. There is a service fee, which we can talk about later on. LLMs, I can choose maybe like the GPT is not the best model. I want to use Grok or DeepSeek. I can diversify. The prompts are here. Like you can define how does it talk, what's the purpose, what's focused on, what doesn't focus on. And then you have the skill selection part. So this is where I say, okay, for instance, crypto panic, this is a data source, use the fetch crypto sentiment and let everybody else to use that function or only use it from the owner. Don't let people use it. And in this case, I, as a retail person, went to the crypto compare, crypto panic site and got an API key. Yeah. For other cases, let's say I want to give this agent the ability to understand images or generate images using ChatGPT. I will activate these ones, but I don't want to give my key. So I'll use the nation key. Right. So if I want to activate that, I was like, for example, ticket, now it's on and say, that's it. And there is a bunch that you can play around with and see what's going on. So everything that the developers of IntentKit add will show up here as an additional features. The autonomous behavior really. So this is where analyze BTC and tweet. It's running every 6 hours. I can run it on a schedule on Monday if I want. And the prompt is very simple. In this case, it's not really sophisticated. So it's pretty straightforward prompt. And then now I did an update to my agent. I can go ahead and deploy it on chain. So it's linked to my actual wallet. I'm in control of this. And once it's live, now it will have this image generation skill that I just added, but not for you, for me only, for the creator only, because it's of the access control, right? So you see here, the OpenAI becomes available. So I can say, create an image of BTC going to 120K. So just from this prompt, it will go and hopefully call the right skills and create an image for that and show it to me.
So here it knows that you're the creator. So when you're
Correct.
interacting with it, it will be able
Correct.
to do this. But anybody else, it will not touch this.
Correct.
Wow.
So that's
This
really
is
where the ownership on chain. So I'm logged in with the CCBA0 wallet. It's also the creator wallet. So that's the access control that you have there.
Yeah, I assume every message is like signed or something so that they can verify.
Of course.
Yeah.
So all of it is
Wow.
there.
Wow. This is a huge platform. Looking back at all of it, there's a full-on marketplace. There's an access control layer, and there is the ability for people to add apps and then to host stuff.
And we haven't even started the crypto stuff, which is, I think I have a good business idea. I want to launch a token for it. So that's actually a lot of people ask us, are you competing with virtuals or so on? To be honest, as we are today, we're not. We are everything that you need just before virtuals.
Yeah.
We are what you need. So you can go to virtuals and launch a token with an actual working product. And this actual working product, you not have to go and say, oh, I will build it in 3 months or 6 months. It's working. Like building this Wolf activity, the first version of it, at least, it's going to take you an hour to refine it and make it. And then you can go and that's it. This is like your POC. This is your pitch. Here's my plan. Here's the proof of it working. Take a look at it and let me know.
Right now, when I'm transacting with some model or writing some questions, the creators will be the one that pay for it because it's their API keys. So whatever service they're using, they'll be paying for.
Not really, not exactly. So there's another part that is also very sophisticated that we built, which is the caps system. So we have created a credit system into the platform, and the credit system is tied to every user. And so for instance, here in my particular user, I have some paid caps, an amount of them. Roughly 1,000 caps is $1, right? If I top up one USDC, if I had it, it will give me 1,000 caps. That's my credit. And this becomes the rule for everything that happens on the platform. And so me as a user, if I go to the trenches and I see one of these agents and I say, for example, to them, hello, what's the sentiment about Ethereum? What it will do, it will, whatever, use the creator DeepSeek, whatever, it will call probably the alpha, and it will charge me a certain caps for that interaction. So this is where the gig economy comes. Like you're paying per interaction. And so I would pay, I don't know, maybe 200 caps, 300 caps, 0.3 cents in a way. And so these caps is what then bifurcates and pays everybody underneath. So imagine with me, they gave me the result, the sentiment, it's called I didn't call it alpha, but it's called this one. So it consumed some caps here. And I can see actually in the full expired history, it actually consumed 23 to read my initial message. It consumed 27 to call the crypto compare, and it consumed another 25 to respond to me. So this is roughly costs like 75 caps. And these 75 caps get split. So that is about 50%. That's, let me think again. 40% is like protocol fees. So that one, then Crestal Nation will take it. What do we do with it? I will probably go and pay the OpenAI API. I will go and pay the API key that I used if it's a nation key.
Right. And
then there is another 40% that is taken by the creator, because the creator of that agent that gave me this wonderful service has built in 150% service fee.
Right.
So they got some money as profit. And then the remaining 20% gets paid to whoever the dev on intent get that built. So that's how everybody profits in a way, right? So one transaction that happens, it pays the platform, us, so it covers hosting fees, etc. It pays the agent's creator. So this guy has made roughly $34 in profit, money that he can take out. So this agent overall, it got $230 spent on it. Of that, 34 went to the agent owner as a profit. The rest is between the skill creators and between the nation platform.
That is very interesting. I think that makes a lot of sense because then everybody's incentivized to build.
Correct. So you're paying to use. And by the way, for example, these cases where the agent is just for yourself, you don't need to open it to the world. So we call that outlanders, that they're not accessible by anybody else. Obviously, in this case, the only one paying for this agent is the creator because it's only serving you. But if I send another agent to the trenches, or becomes a citizen, like it's a bit verified.
Yeah.
Then here it's open to anybody. Like, here, come talk to my agent, and I made 1 cap as profit. Right?
Yeah.
So this is really where the gig economy comes in. So the idea is that people create these mini businesses, make some money from it, and that in itself, at a certain volume, is sustainable for the protocol. Like, we don't burn fees by having people talking to more agents with us. We actually just opened the agent creation for free recently, like yesterday or the day before. It doesn't cost us anything. You can create an agent, or also there is some upfront cost.
Yeah.
But then as anybody interacts with it, we are not fronting those costs. People are paying for you. And then we are using the microtransactions to make sure that everybody gets paid.
Yeah. That's also a very interesting idea, is that there's always been this discussion in Web3 about making micro payments and like tiny payments and making it transparent to the end user. But here you're actually doing that. So every time I interact with the service, you can see exactly how much credit is being taken, and all of
Yep.
that could be covering hosting. It could be covering like anything. And
Yep.
you can see as the price drops over time.
Yep. And this is actually something that blockchain has not solved yet. So the cap system that I showed you is an off-chain system. It's an off-chain ledger. Putting this on-chain is actually something that still needs some work. So there is an initiative that has been launched recently called X402 or X425, which is microtransactions on Base. And then this allows it's perfect for agents, whereby now if I call an API, I can instantly on-chain send payment for that API. And they have designed it so it can support like the micro payment. The gas is not more than the payment, what it is, etc. So that is when that technology matures, right away, that replaces the caps, right? So now it becomes fully on-chain cap system that you can track and see where the money flew from everybody.
But do you want caps to be tradable in the sense that the price will fluctuate?
No, we don't. So that's why we need a token called Nation, right? So with the cap system, about the philosophy a little bit, like this is a nation, right? So the nation has a internal economic system and it has an external economic system. So for the internal economic system, you can think about it like the intra-bank system, bank to bank. They settle transactions. They don't actually send the money. They settle the transaction. They want everything to be predictable, clear. So that's the caps. It's a stable coin. Okay.
Yeah.
1,000 caps will always be $1, assuming that the dollar is stable. So that's the stable coin inside the nation. But then as you engage in economic activity outside, right? So you want people to come and join the nation, or you want people to take their gains outside and use them somewhere else, or you want your agent to launch a token and make it tradable, etc. So that's where the nation token itself is a fluctuating asset. That would be a volatile asset, whereby I can come today. I can use, not today, we'll TG soon, but let's say you top up your caps you spend $1 worth of nation, it will give you 100 caps. You do some stuff with it, and then you have now made 200 caps in the system, and you want to take it out. You're going to take it out into nation. So that exit value will be different from the entry value, depending on nation. In our tokenomic paper, we have a very developed part about how this kind of constitutes the GDP of the nation. It's a good metric to see how actually the economic system is withstanding, which is assets coming in, creation of value inside the system, and assets leaving that. And that will be really the key metric that we will be monitoring the success of the project.
I'm curious about whether individual agents having tokens, like their own native tokens that are tradable. And then there's like maybe the relationship to the nation's token. Does that in the early stages distract people from actually building like real utility over time? Because if you're usually when you're building product, you just look at 2 metrics, 3 metrics, 1 metric, which is like user growth, revenue, and something else. Right?
Yeah.
But now you have on the side this huge ticker symbol that is like trading and moving, and which have nothing to do with what your product is doing. How do you think about that?
Yeah, it is, to be honest, a major distraction, but it's also an asset when you are building in this space, which is the early liquidity of your stocks. As a company in crypto, what tokens do, they only actually bring markets early on, tradable markets to a company that in the real world would not be tradable at that point. You'd be like, IPO still 5-6 years. And that is a double-edged sword. It helps as an accelerator of your funding and things you can do with the project. that also creates this whole pressure that the token becomes the project. And it's not something that you can control, of course.
Yeah.
What we will do is that all of these fees that are collected by the protocol, those should serve as like buyback strategies for the nation token. So it can like true value up. But to be honest, the speculation part would be so aggressive that these buybacks will not even make a dent in the early days. So it is a distraction thing. That's on one level. The second level is like even the agents inside the nation, do they need a token? And so that becomes, if you have really a good agent and you're making, I think on the trenches that he's the guy that made $1,000 since we launched like a month ago. That's good money.
That's incredible.
I will not comment on how he marketed his agent and whatever it is. He did an amazing job, but that is money. The challenge now becomes what's next for this particular guy, right? What keeps him motivated to do more? And that's where there is no denying it. Additional funding is what could kickstart that project. So how does he get additional funding? He puts his agent for sale on the market with a token. So that's really the mental model here. You can look at it either way. You can go actually and raise a lot of funding and try to delay and focus on service delivery, which worked well for a few companies in crypto. But then you can also borrow from the future in a way. Say, here's the token, let me use the funds to actually push the product.
So do you think there is a model where, because for instance, I was on like the founding team of a startup in 2014 that was acquired by Zillow. They were like a public company. And I remember one of the first things that the CEO was saying, don't look at the stock price. But he will always like remind everybody, like, don't care about the stock price, because it definitely has a huge influence on people's mentality, because everybody has your RSUs or your stocks or whatever in it. And I think that in crypto, because people get essentially public very early, I think there is a huge negative impact. I totally understand on the other side too. As a builder, I'm like, dude, I'm incentivized to go out and raise and to get liquidity. Your partners are also pushing you on this side. Like the incentive is to do that, right?
Yeah.
So the incentive is, it's like shorter to middle term. Do you think there's something where, for instance, with the agents, where you can have like benchmarks where you can say, you know what, once you have reached this much in transaction volume, once you have reached this much in user base, once you have reached this long in being alive and active, then you can launch a token. So there's like a standard that you put in. So I don't know if that's useful.
I 100% agree with you. And that's why we built the story that we built, like this outlander is just serving you. Then if you believe it's useful, you send them to the trenches, trying to gain attention, recognition. Then if he's good enough, they make it as a citizen. So they're featured on the homepage. Very few of the citizens will be brave enough to enter the gauntlet and try to launch a token. But it's trying. It's not guaranteed that your bonding curve will actually succeed. And then if you launch a token, now you become a senator and tradable in the market, which is a bit of a joke on words because senators should not be tradable, but they are tradable. And so this is like the big brushes of the story that we did. And to be honest, as soon as we get done with this TGE happening next week, my big task is what kind of good gamification mechanism to both excite people to move their agents through this journey, but also does not break the system, which is exactly the rules that you said. What are the criteria for a trencher to become a citizen? What is the criteria for a citizen to launch a token? And why would an early backer want their agent or an agent that they like to reach that point? What's in it for them? What's the incentives for it? These are actually the designs we're doing, and it will look at things, revenue that they made. Of course, that is legitimately, like, it's not scammy because you can hack everything, right? You can create an agent that doesn't do anything, just eats up all your caps. And so refining the numbers and what are the barriers that you have to cross and the criteria, and also make it fun for people, because we want people to be excited. Just, you know what, this little and he will go there. And if he goes there, I'd win also because I'm on that team, right?
Yes.
So this is really a big design thinking that we are doing. And to be honest, there is no perfect formula. So what we'll do seasons. So we'll launch season 1 with some rules, see how that works, what kind of outcomes it yields to, and then do again. But the goal is definitely to have a very limited numbers of agents that launch their tokens. Like, they have to own it. They have to own it either by the quality of the project or by the financial aspect, which means they made enough revenue, etc. Which these two things are usually tied together, right? You're either good at marketing your agent or you're good at building a legitimately good agent. And yeah, we'll see after a few weeks of season 1, what kind of agents launch, how many of them survive, don't survive. Are people excited about that gamification? Maybe we do another version of the game and keep going.
Just to end, then I have a question, which is on one, let's say this thing works out super well. What is the best case envision for this platform or this idea?
Yeah.
If you look at it to the limit, like what that would
Yeah.
look like. And then as part of that, maybe then stepping back is what is like the really like short, immediate challenges that you're having? Is it like, yo, we can't get this feature for, and then maybe what is the middle term challenges? Yeah. So
Yeah.
envision short-term challenges, middle-term challenges.
Yep. So if people look today at the nation and they see this outlander to trencher to citizen to senator, it's easy to think that's it. That's a journey, right? For me, actually, the journey starts from there. My end vision is there were enough project teams, there were enough builders that went through this 5 steps and so on, that at the end of it, we do have legitimately 10, 20, 100, 1,000 freelancer businesses that are fully built on an agent, which means I want to build, after a few cycles of these agents going through the ranks, I want to build a different website and I will call it Fiverr, right? And that Fiverr, there is the highest quality freelancers that are purely agents, right? And to get there, they had to go through all of the fun stuff, which is trying, getting attention, getting feedback, getting some small money, launching a token, getting some treasury so they can develop the project further. And then now they have, like, it can be a completely standalone. That's what I want to see. This is the goal that we want to have. It will leave all of this gamification part behind. It's purely a way to know that this is a platform where you can go legitimately, like you can recommend to your family members, to anybody, to say, hey, your boss is asking you to do XYZ, go to this website. That is highly refined AI agents that will do it for you, right? And you can get it done.
So to think about that, what you're building now, it's like the arena where builders and creators are battling it out in competition to develop the best set of agents that actually are useful to people's lives.
Yes and no. Actually, not to develop the agents, but to make our framework so good at creating good agents. So that's what brings me to the mid and short-term challenge, which is, what do I want now? Do I want 10,000 agents that work 30% of the time? Or do I want to have 100 agents that work 99% of the time? They do their job very well. And obviously you want that second outcome. But to get there, we have to go through cycles and cycles of builders coming in, building, finding like use cases, edge cases, improvements. I need this feature, I need that feature. I need to improve the way that we generate agents, the way the agents runs, the way the LLM handles everything. So this is where our testnet, essentially our product improvement cycle that will go through this one. For me, every successful agent that launches a token on Nation has been made possible because I tightened my features to make it possible. And then once we have done that enough times, I can come and say, actually, you know what? Let's throw Nation away. I'm not going to do that. Let's throw Nation away. Now we have a technology that is foolproof. Anybody can come and they can have an agentic business that works close to 100% of the time as expected.
So what you're saying is that long-term ultimate Fiverr vision, we're not there yet. We need to develop the framework, the products, the integrations, the incentive models to get there. Nations is like an intermediary step to enable that, right? That's why you have, it's a little bit messy. It's full on experimentation, but if this succeeds, then you can have that thing. And that is like the ultimate long-term vision.
That's a real world value that people would legitimately use. I tried to use freelancer work before, just a lot of back and forth and noisy testing, pay me up. It doesn't work. I don't use it that much. But if I can reliably go and get my stuff done and pay per transaction, whatnot, because I know that his machine behind it does it well, hell yes, I'm going to do it. And that is a real world though, that I can go to any enterprise, to any person. It doesn't have to be any crypto and tell them, look, this is what it does. But we need to get there. And then we need to be crafty about how we can mature our product, how we get those features added in, incentivize the developers to build the features, incentivize the creators to build something on top of it, to give us feedback, incentivize them to actually mature enough in their creation that they will spend extra time with their agent, refining and improving it. So all of that learning can come back to the protocol and collectively, and everybody who invested in it to say, over this 1 year or 2 years of crazy fun times, now we have a product that is super powerful that can be, forget about crypto, you can use it for anything else.
Before I finish, I know there's been a lot of discussion like MCP and how do you see the role of that within, I guess,
The agent world.
Yeah.
Without going into the technical parts, the MCP is another case of a good technology that does not scale yet. MCP hype that is happening right now is very much, for example, the ELIZA hype.
Can you provide some context on MCP, maybe just for people?
Sure. So instead of doing single integrations to APIs, so instead of the skills right now, if I need something, I'll just go and integrate it, and then I activate it for it, and you have to configure it for your agent so it can use it. We can actually create a server somewhere, and this server is having all the skills already active, configured the way they should be configured, running in a way. And then all that your agent has to do is talk to that server, and then they can get the service from it. So it's a little bit more, in theory, optimized integration layer. It's a better integration layer that works better for LLMs rather than using APIs, let's say, which right now we're using that.
Right.
Now, the challenge of this one is that it works well if I am building a single agent, because I can pre-configure all of the services that I think my agent will need, put them in an MCP server, and now I can use Claude, I can use OpenAI, they just talk to the MCP server and they get the service done.
Okay.
The dilemma is, how do I scale this to make an MCP server capable to serve 10,000 agents that have 10,000 different requirements? The dummy answer that we have right now is that you have to put 10,000 instances of the MCP server. So it doesn't scale well yet. It's not like we haven't hacked it yet in a way that actually can scale that way. That's really where the MCP is a promising technology. It will make integrations much smoother, much simpler. But today, the one-to-many relationship is not solved yet from a design point of view. You can use an MCP for a one-to-one, one agent, one MCP. It works well.
Yeah.
If I have many agents, one MCP, and remember, these agents will have different owners, they have different security requirements, access control. It's a bit tricky.
So there's probably another layer that needs to be built on top of it to enable it in some ways, or some sort of wrapper. Okay.
So the effort that we estimated right now to do that is just easier to work with APIs. Adding a skill to nations. I saw your app, for example, the other day, and then I told you, like, if you have an API, it's just like a half a day work. 2 hours, 3 hours, deploy it, test it, it's working. So yes, that right now is the wiser choice, but MCP, definitely we're keeping an eye on that technology. And once we have the right architecture, it should simplify the agentic integration. I've done a mistake, which is I built the tech before launching the token.
Actually, that's a really great thing in my opinion. So if you do launch something, I actually think that's like way better.
It's all the budget, all of the engineering costs, the effort. I have a lot of things that I want to do, for example, from a marketing and engagement and so on. But then sometimes I wake up in the morning, I was like, let me check some engineering discussion. And there's actually interesting stuff happening, but it takes my whole day. I was like, oh, damn it. No, it's just like, I could have been shilling a token instead. We are joking. That's what we are proud of.
No, I really think this was awesome. Like when I saw that, I actually have much more faith in the paper now, because I'm like, okay, it's not some random thing that's just like a vision. Like this is a fully functioning product. And
I think the audience matters at the end of the day. So that is one of the challenges and benefits of working in Web3 and crypto, because you're dealing with a specific audience. And that's why actually it's good to identify that is creators and users, but there is traders also that are equally important for the protocol success. If those traders themselves are creators and users and know how it works, that's great. But then also we know that in crypto, sometimes it's not that. It's just like somebody who's dealing with his own job and just sitting, grabbing coffee and like, which tokens should I sell? Which tokens should I buy? They don't care about what's behind. But happy to have this chat. It really allows me to share what we've built, and there is multiple layers to it. There is a lot of things. There is a team that did an amazing job, and I'm really super proud of them.
And how many people is in your team though to do this?
We are 7 people.
Wow.
So me and my co-founder, He's the technical one. I am the less technical one. And we have probably 2 front end, 1 back end, and 2 intent kits people.
Yeah, that's crazy that you guys have built all of this within, I don't know, whatever, like 2-3 months. Congrats.
I've sacrificed a lot. No lives, no friends. We raised like 2 million last year. And then we chose not to raise again before the TGE because we wanted to focus a little bit on getting the revenue in, etc. We have made about 200K, 220K in fees so far.
Oh, dude, frick, that's still already incredible, man.
Yeah, we're going to have to spend it on market makers and liquidity pools. But then they will be like, okay, I want to do this. Can I spare the money? And where does that money come from? It will come from additional revenue. It will come from token performance. If it's doing well, of course, treasury will be a little bit better. And that would be the stressful, I think, next, I don't know, 6 to 18 months to get to where we want to get. Is like, can I go as fast as I want to? Right. That is the whole founder journey, startup journey, which is a completely different thing in itself. It's also very interesting and challenging. I keep an eye on what you guys are doing. Every time I see something that I can relate to, I definitely ping you with it.
Amazing, man. Thank you so much.